In less than 24 hours from when this video comes out, 2020 will be over. And I know we're all sitting back and rejoicing because 2020 has been just an absolute terrible year for everybody. You know, this year has just been nothing of what humanity could have expected. Everybody at the beginning of the year felt like this was their year, and I was no different. I felt like this year, I just had such big expectations for myself, and I set such big lustrous goals because I had finally graduated college and I felt like I could put time towards things that I wanted to for once in my life, that I was on my own time, and that I could really devote my time to my passion of YouTube and creating videos. And everything just started falling apart before my eyes quickly, and much quicker than I could have been prepared for. And nobody really was prepared for this year, but it has just taken such a toll on everybody's mental health that I feel like we're all breathing a sigh of relief right now going into 2021. But I just wanted to get this out here, and I don't really mean to push my own problems to make them your problems, but I feel like I owe it to all of you to explain why I've been so spotty with this year and communicating to all of you what was really going on. And while my personal life is my own and I don't want to push my problems onto anybody else, I feel like my biggest pride in this channel is the fact of we have such a tight-knit community, and that I really just get the most joy from creating videos out of communicating with all of you and having this community that we've made. And I feel like I've done a disservice to it by letting things fall to the wayside and just not really being open about everything, I guess. And as always, I hope that, you know, my work throughs and what I've been doing can maybe relate to something that maybe one of you is going through and help in some way possible. If what I'm going through can help somebody else get through what they're going through, I will gladly talk about it. At the beginning of this year, I had such big goals and expectations of myself and this channel that I wanted to go full time, and that I didn't really talk about specifics, but I wanted to hit 10,000. That was a huge number for me. I felt like when I hit that number, for some reason, it would feel more serious, and that talking about doing it full time wouldn't, you know, I feel like whenever I would mention to somebody, in the back of their head, they wouldn't take me seriously. And I felt like doing that, I could prove to myself and prove to other people that what I was doing was serious, and that this is what I wanted to do, and I was making it happen. And I feel like those expectations of myself were just so high. And it's really, with YouTube and any social media, it's like I put things out there and try and set myself on a path, but really you're at the hands of an algorithm that you have no idea what it wants and what it doesn't want. And doing so, in the regards that I did it, really just sets yourself up to lose what really is important. And what's important is enjoying what you do, enjoying creating, and enjoying making a community. And that was my biggest goal of 2020, was to make a community where people feel safe, where people make friends, where people come together and can just be happy. And I feel like focusing too much on the analytics just set myself up for disaster. And those expectations were just so self-destructive, and they were nothing that I should have been putting out for myself. And I feel like going into 2020, it just all started snowballing when I started off with such high expectations, and then we just quickly got put into quarantine, and obviously I wasn't working, and there was nothing to distract myself from when a video didn't do well. And it would take such a strain on me that it burnt me out quicker than I've ever been before. If you've been following the channel for a while, I don't really take breaks because I don't enjoy taking breaks, because I enjoy creating videos that much, because I enjoy expressing myself that much, and expressing myself has always been a distraction from things that I couldn't control in my life. And it quickly became that YouTube was the only thing that I had really going on in terms of progressing my life forward. And when it wasn't doing well, there was nothing to distract myself from that. And it really just became a loop of a feeling of failure. And I feel like that's the biggest question that I had this year. And it was that, am I a failure? And for a lot of the year, I was telling myself yes. And I feel like that was the biggest thing that I'm been trying to overcome. And again, I don't say this to make it seem like my problems are all this. I know there's people who have suffered greatly from this year and from this pandemic, and I just want to say this to try and help anybody who might be in that same cycle, in that same loop, and just to know that the expectations you set for yourself, you shouldn't really hold them to such a high standard. You can have big goals, but when you expect so much of yourself, and especially in things that you can't always control, it's just going to set yourself up for failure. Always dream big, but don't put such a pressure on yourself to achieve it in such a small time frame. I really feel like this year has shown me that time moves fast and slow all at the same time. And while a year has passed and I feel like I've gotten older, I feel like I still have so much time left, and I have so much time to prove things to myself and to others and really see what I can do. And so do all of you. You have so much more time than you think. And I feel like this year has shown us that every moment can be precious from what we make of it. And I know not everybody has the opportunity to do so, but just really don't put such high expectations on yourself. I feel like if I'm taking anything from 2020, and that I hope if you take anything from it as well, is to look at the difference between goals and expectations, and that you can have big goals and it's good to work towards some things, but your expectations might not always be met. And it's where that disconnect comes into play, is where really the mental health worries and problems all really stem for, at least for me. When I set a goal for hitting 10,000 subscribers and then 100,000 subscribers, and I wanted to do it this year, I set goals, but also big expectations for myself. Like that was something that I couldn't really control at the end of the day. And when my expectations of myself fell short, it really ruined my self-image and my self-worth. And it's taking me a lot to try and accept the fact that, my expectations might fall short and they might not always be realistic, and that's not my fault. And it's something that, you can't really control all the time. And I feel like this year especially has shown us all that we can't really control everything, and there's always something that life might throw at us that might get in the way, but to not blame ourselves. And again, this isn't to say that my problems are so much worse than everyone's. I just wanted to say this for those that needed to hear it. Also, the fact that I feel like saying this for myself is also helpful in its own right, in that a lot of the times when I'm kind of self-reflecting and I was in this loop of feeling of failure and just self-doubt, I really shut down and don't really talk about this to anybody, and kind of just internalize it, and just it festers and festers. And I feel like this year more than ever, we really see how much of the same page more of us are than we realize. Like, so many people that I've seen in this community have been able to share their story and help others through their own because of how much they can relate to each other. And I see that, and that means so much to me, that so many people in this community are willing to open up to relate to others. And I feel like I need to do that too if I want to help anybody, because we're all going through our own self-doubt this year. We're all going through our own struggles, and you're not alone. And I think that's the biggest thing that I want to communicate. If you've been with the channel for a while and you've seen videos like this of me just kind of rambling, I always talk about big goals that I set for myself, because I always enjoy working towards goals. Whenever I hit a milestone, I rarely sit back and soak it in. I always look towards the next step. And I feel like working towards goals is a very positive thing for myself, because it's always giving me something to look up to be passionate about, to aspire to. But that's when the expectations of myself really come into play, because when my expectations differ from what reality is able to produce, that's when I self-doubt and I get that feeling of failure, even if what happened wasn't my fault. And I feel like we all need to accept ourselves more and really give ourselves more credit that you worked hard and you did what you could. But sometimes life just doesn't go the way we want to, and that's life. And I feel like accepting it, it's not saying that, we failed and that's okay. It's saying that we tried, and while one path might have closed or one path might have not went the way we wanted it to, there will be always another path for us to travel down, and there's always tomorrow to work towards. And that, I feel like, is something that I need to work on. I still have big goals for myself regarding life and YouTube, and I hope you're working towards your own goals as well. And I know you can do it, and I'm so proud of everything that people in this community have accomplished. I've seen you talking about your passions, talking about your own lives and what's going on, and I'm so proud of you, and I see you, and you all mean so much to me. But I'm going to, this next year, just try my best not to give a darn about the analytics, because sometimes YouTube just really does its best to put you down. Like whenever I go into the studio to check how a video is doing, if it went up properly, you're met with on the home screen a ranking of how your video did compared to the last 10 you uploaded. And for so long, my videos have been just at the lowest point of the last 10 days. And it really just pushes you down, because I've been trying a lot of different things this year. And obviously with that, I know not everything's going to do well, and I don't always care if it does well. If I feel like I created something good and I'm proud of it, I'm proud of it. But YouTube just reinforces that feeling of failure sometimes in my mind, when was really nothing to distract myself from that part of this. And seeing that and seeing it not do well really makes you question, like, what was this something I was proud of? Did I put my all into this? And that's really what led to the burnout for me, which is why it's so important for me now to be searching for the sense of fulfillment rather than the sense of some kind of analytical, pat on the back. And this goes out to all of you, regardless of what field you're in or what you're doing. Never really look for some kind of arbitrary measure of how you did. Always look for that sense of fulfillment and find what makes you happy. Because at the end of the day, I don't remember the videos that ranked 1 out of the last 10. I don't really remember those. I remember the times that I spent recording something that was genuinely fun to do, something that I did with Clumsy or Toho or any of my friends here, and that I felt good about creating. I remember those videos, and I remember those times more than any number on YouTube might suggest. And regardless of what that looks like for you in your field and your goals, I hope that you find it. I hope that you find it, and I hope you feel fulfilled in whatever you're doing. And if I'm being honest, there was so many times this year that I felt like quitting everything. And part of the reason I didn't is because of how I answered that question of what makes me feel fulfilled. And it was making content that I enjoy making, and it was making experiences and meeting new people, new friends, and new members of the community. And that all made me want to keep going. And I know I've talked about that before, but it really showed this year in that there's never really times before this year when I felt like quitting. I've always been so hopeful and just so much wanting to push forward. But this year really made me question that, if I was making the right choice, if I really could make this happen. It's weird. Like, my channel is the biggest it's ever been, and I've never really questioned things before, but I really had a lot of times where I just felt like stopping. And all of you and the true things that I felt passionate about regarding YouTube is what made me keep going with this. And I think it took being quarantined and having no other distractions to this to really make me look and self-reflect in that regard, and that I really had to look at what I enjoyed about this and what I didn't, because there were so many times where I would wake up and just not do a single thing, not do anything, and I would always feel guilty about it. But it made me think about what about this I was really working towards. There were so many times where I wouldn't be doing anything, I wouldn't record or edit, and I would feel like, well, I need to get something out. I need to do this to keep my channel healthy and keep going. And it made me stop and think, why am I doing this? And I feel like I'm finally starting to answer these questions in a more positive way. And I'm always trying to find new perspectives on things. And I hope somewhere in these ramblings that you could relate to something and hopefully find some answers to your own questions. And I hope that just out of this year, you keep aiming high and setting goals for yourselves in whatever you're doing. But just know that your expectations of yourself, you should never be hard on yourself over. You know, regardless of what happens, look to the positives. Like for this year, we started doing charity events on this channel. I'd never done a charity event before this year. And so far in this year, we've raised over $3,000. That's insane. That's insane. I had such a fun time planning out and making these charity events happen. And I never believed in myself to be able to do those types of things. I thought charity events were strictly for bigger channels with larger audiences. And I didn't know if we would be able to do any of that. But that's something that I'm immensely proud of. And I never thought we could do it before we did it. And going along with this mindset of goals and expectations for myself, I am still setting a goal that I've had for a while for myself for this year to not only hit 10,000 subscribers, but 100,000. And that's a big jump, but I think that I'm finally on a path to be able to do it. But even though that is a big goal, I'm not going to set my expectations to be able to meet that goal this year. If we don't, we don't, you know, but that's what I'm going to be working towards. And that's when I'll be putting every ounce of my passion and every fiber of my being into doing so. But if for some reason I don't hit that goal, oh well. I'm not going to be putting so much pressure on myself like I have so many other years. But not only just hit a number, I want that number to mean something. I want, along with that goal of a subscriber count, to come along with so many more community events, so many more charity events, meeting so many new amazing people, from people I collab with to every single person here who comments, who's part of this community. I want to meet so many more amazing people and to hear their story of what they've been doing. And I just want to say thank you all for being a part of this journey. 2020 has been a hell of a year, and I know a lot of you out there have gone through far much worse than I have. Regardless of what's happened and what will happen, I just want you all to know that I'm proud of you, and that whatever happens, we can get through this because we're not alone. So let's all right now vow to make 2021 a much better time. Not because it's just a new year, but because of new perspectives and being accepting more of ourselves, because we are all amazing in our own right, and I'm proud of each and every one of you. So I hope something here could help, and I will see you all in the new year. Bye-bye.